Hey guys, today's video is going to be in English, and today I'm going to have a special guest, someone who I admire. Her name is Victoria, and Victoria is a Polish Canadian, so similar to myself. She grew up speaking Polish at home, but in Canada, and Victoria has a really cool channel that I think everyone should check out, which is called American Accent Mastery. Victoria is a professional teacher. She helps people to speak like native English-speaking Americans. But what I think is even more impressive about Victoria and her channel is that not only does she talk about English as a language, but she also talks about the cultural differences that make a big difference when it comes to communicating with English native speakers. Victoria has a master's degree in speech-language pathology, which as far as I know has to do with dissecting language and understanding it on a deeper level. So no, pathology has nothing to do with pathologia, all right? She's not like drinking vodka every night and like beating her children. So today's video, we're basically gonna explore 6 reasons why Polish people sound Polish.
Hello you guys, witajcie serdecznie. My name is Victoria, and Dave, thank you so much for this opportunity to be here on your channel. So today we have for you guys 6 reasons why Polish people sound Polish. And this, of course, is through the lens of Polish North Americans like both Dave and I are. So given that I wasn't raised in Poland, I realized that some of these things that I'm going to share with you guys may have to do with generational differences as well. So I'm really curious to hear from you guys in the comments if any of my perceptions are in fact now totally dated. The first 4 points that I'm going to share with you guys have to do with cultural differences and cross-cultural communication. And then the last 2 points that I'm going to share with you guys have to do with actual speech sound production. All right, so without further ado, the first reason that you may sound very Polish is if you say, "Where is your warm clothing?" So, where's your hat? Where's your scarf? Do you have long underwear on under your jeans?
Yes, absolutely. That is something that Polish people do. Or at least older Polish people. Like, I don't know if my young friends say this. Like, I'm not sure that any of my young friends are like, "No kurwa, stary, gdzie masz czapkę?"
So I actually have a really funny story for you guys about warm clothing. So it was New Year's Day a few years back, and my husband and I were staying at my mom's. And it's 8 in the morning, and I hear my grandmother let out this piercing, loud, terrified scream. So I jump out of bed and I run through the house and I find her, and she's laying down in the garage. She had blacked out, fallen off the steps, and things looked really bad. There was blood everywhere. Anyhow, it wasn't a good scene. So we bring her into the house, we call the paramedics, and as she's laying there, literally, we don't know if she's gonna survive this or not. What does she say to my husband? "Socks. Socks." And my husband says, "Of course I'll bring you socks, no problem. Right away, let me get that for you." And she says, No, Peter. You have no socks. Go put on socks, Peter."
Good old Polish people.
To me, this is so Polish, and North Americans in general tend to really not care about this kind of stuff.
That is true. We don't care about it. I think we're just kind of like, yeah, you're a responsible adult, so if you want to wear a hat, and if you don't, then don't.
This just cracks me up to this day, because my grandmother, who's laying there, no joke, in a pool of blood, was still very much concerned about the warmth of my husband's feet in that case. So to me, that is quintessential Polish. So the second reason you may sound very Polish is if you say "no thank you" when you're offered something, but you don't actually mean it, right? So you're at a friend's and they say, "Hey, would you like a piece of cake?" And you say, No, nie dziękuję, no thank you." And then they'll offer you again. And then the second time you may accept, or if you're really strong-willed, you may only accept the third time. And in North America, this back and forth just doesn't exist, and it can in fact really confuse a North American.
I actually talked to Victoria about this earlier, and I'm actually not sure if young people still do this. Like, Polish young people, do you do this? I feel like this is something that grandmas would do. They'd be like, no, nie, nie, no, nie, nie. But like, do you guys do this? I don't know. I absolutely agree with you, Victoria. This is super frustrating, especially when I was a child. When I was a child, I did not understand that this was a thing. So I would be visiting my grandma and she would force feed me. You know how grandmas are, to the point where I couldn't even move anymore. And I was like, nie, już nie chcę jedzenia, babcia. But she didn't care, of course. She was just, no ale to jest tak troszeczkę, no weź, no ale przynajmniej zjedz mięsko, ziemniaczki to może zostawić. And then I would go to her cousin's house, so another older Polish lady, and then she would try to give me another dinner. And I was like, no, I just ate dinner. And every time I would go there, it'd be like, here, do you want some tea? And I was like, no, it's summer. Why would I want tea? It's 40 degrees outside. Who is drinking tea when it's summertime? What is wrong with you people? And then she would be like, oh, here's some pierogi, here's some ciasto, here's like everything, bigos. And I was like, no, I literally just had dinner. But Polish people have no mercy. And I hated playing this game as a young person because I didn't understand why she was being so aggressive about food. Now I understand that it was expected that I would say no, and that she would have to force me to have some. So eventually what happened was I told her, hey, listen, I don't want your food. I am American, so if I will be hungry, I will go to your refrigerator, I will take your food, and I will eat it. And of course, she was shocked. She was like, you know, she had never heard anyone say that. And that was the only way I could make her stop asking me if I want more food.
I saw this cultural miscommunication literally unfolding before my eyes a few years back. We were at my husband's parents' camp, and my mom was with us as well. And my mother-in-law makes these amazing blueberry pancakes. So it was morning and everyone's having their coffee, and my mother-in-law says to my mom, Elizabeth, could I offer you some blueberry pancakes? And my mom, being Polish, says, no, Louise, don't bother, no worries. And Louise says, oh, okay. And that was it. So my mom was expecting that she was gonna get offered the pancakes a second time, but my mother-in-law wasn't expecting she had to do that. So literally, if I hadn't been there, that would have been the end of their awkward interaction, and they would have both left the situation feeling a little bit slighted. But luckily, I was there to save the day, and literally I stepped in, I said, this is a cultural difference, you guys. And I broke it all down for them. And in fact, my mom then said, yeah, of course I want your blueberry pancakes. They're amazing. And my mother-in-law said, I was really confused as to why you didn't want them, but I wasn't going to push you to have them if that's what you said.
And that's a good point, Victoria. I think Americans would feel uncomfortable trying to push food on you because, again, I think in the United States, we think, you know, hey, you're a responsible adult, and if you want to wear a hat, you'll wear a hat. And if someone offers you food and you want it, you will say yes.
So if you say no thank you, but you don't really mean it, this to me is really Polish. So the third reason that you may sound very Polish is if you offer very direct, brutally honest feedback when asked about your opinion, even if someone's feelings are involved.
You know, that's really funny. I always joke and I say that Polish people do not care about your feelings. And I think that's true. I don't know, maybe you guys will disagree with me, but I would say as a general statement, a Polish person is so brutally honest and they absolutely do not care about your feelings. They're just gonna say it however they feel like saying it.
So in North America, even if you're directly asked for your opinion, if you're going to risk hurting someone's feelings, people typically phrase things in a much, much softer way. So I recently did an experiment on my own YouTube channel just to show this kind of cultural difference. And I painted my eyebrows very, very, very big. And I sent a video to a bunch of my family members saying, hey guys, I just filmed a YouTube video. Are these okay or are they a bit too much? And my Polish family said, you look ridiculous. Absolutely not. You can't put that on YouTube. Are you crazy?
That is so Polish. I imagine they're like, pojebało cię?
And my American family did not react in this way. They said things like, wow, those are really glamorous if you were going out. Or again, much softer deliveries like, well, those are a little bit heavy-handed, but you still look beautiful. This one to me is really fascinating because we so view things through our own cultural lens, and both family sides thought the other, in this case, was being awful and rude. So my American family thought that my Polish family's directness was really, really hurtful and rude. And on the contrary, my Polish family felt that my American family was just lying to me. And so they thought that was really terrible to do as well.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really, really good observation, because I think that often Polish people think that Americans are fake, or that they're lying, or they won't say the truth. But actually, if you really listen to what Americans are saying, how they are saying it, if you understand the deeper meaning, you'll actually be able to notice that they are saying, hey, maybe this isn't so great. Whereas I think in Poland, culturally, people are much more direct, and you don't have to think about what they're saying. You just basically know, because they're going to say it how it is.
So this one, don't think about it as a right or a wrong, or as an honest or dishonest. Just know that this difference exists, and try to look at situations through the lens that feedback in North America is delivered very, very differently than in Poland. The fourth reason you may sound very Polish is if you say to someone, no, really, have more, eat more.
Yes, I'm surprised that there aren't more fat people in Poland, you know what I mean? Just because of how, people are forcing you to eat more food.
And if you're Polish, you understand this dynamic, and you're gonna eat however much you want, right? However, if you're an American entering a Polish person's home and you're met with this level of eat more enthusiasm, no joke, I've had many friends and family members just overeat to the point that they feel sick, but they did this because they didn't want to offend their host.
Yeah, so it's really amazing how cultural differences can impact the way we view the world.
And it doesn't help that very often your host may say things like, oh, you don't want any more? I guess that means you don't like my cooking.
Make you feel guilty that you're not eating more food? Please write in the comments if this happens to you when you visit your friends and family.
So this one to me also is just so Polish. Americans and Canadians, they frankly don't really care how much you're eating. And if you go to their house and they're having dinner and they invite you to eat with them and you say, no, I honestly, I don't feel like it, they really wouldn't keep encouraging you to eat, to be hospitable. And this one though is obviously just Polish hospitality at its finest, right? Your host wants to make sure that you're well fed and that you're happy. However, this is just a huge cultural difference between Poland and North America.
And this goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that I think in the US, people expect that you are a responsible adult who is able to make your own decisions. But I do know that in Poland, because of communism, because of there not being food, I think that it was actually quite normal back in the day that you would not want to eat someone else's food, because you would think that, well, maybe they don't have food, so I'm not going to eat their food. So I definitely understand that, and I can see how that has happened. But times have changed, and I think also that perhaps with younger people this is happening less and less. So please make sure to write about that in the comments.
So now we're getting into some of the speech differences. So the fifth reason that you may sound Polish is that you're actually using Polish vowels when speaking in English. And there is actually almost no overlap between the vowel sounds of English and the vowel sounds of Polish.
And in case you didn't know, a vowel is like things like A, E, I, O, U. That's a vowel.
If right now you guys are thinking, but what about the sound eh? That one we could argue about. That one's extremely close, but to me, if I'm saying left or left, to me those are still totally different S sounds.
And I think this is very important, because I think that the vowel sounds are actually the sounds that really confuse a lot of people in Poland. A lot of the people that I have worked with say, well, I don't hear a difference. So when she talks about left and left, I understand how a lot of people might think, what, that's the same thing. But it absolutely is not.
But apart from that one, the other sounds are actually quite different. So in American English, there is no such thing as a, o, I, o. Those sounds just never, ever, ever exist.
Yeah, you hear that? They never exist.
So if you're saying a word and you're putting an u sound into that word, like the number tu instead of tu, those are totally different sound productions. Most of the time, you're still going to be understood correctly based on the context. But if you were to say a word and use a Polish vowel and there's no context to help you, that could really lead to a miscommunication. So let's say, for example, that you said the word kat. Okay? So k, a, t. The k exists in English, the t exists in English, but a, we just said, doesn't exist. So an American listener will have no idea if by a you meant a, as in a cat, as in a pet cat, or if maybe you meant an a sound, like I cut the envelope or whatever, or if maybe you meant an ah sound, like caught, I caught a fish yesterday. So you get the idea. Because you're producing a sound that truly does not exist in an American's brain, the person has to make an educated guess. And unless that context is there supporting their educated guess, you can get yourself into trouble.
This is really good stuff because I've experienced this a lot with the word Pizza Hut. Often people in Poland think it's Pizza Hat, but it's actually Pizza Hut. And in case you don't know, hut is chata. So Pizza Hut means chata pizzy. It's not Pizza Czapka, co wy zwariowaliście? No, it's not Pizza Hat. And I know that this is like a big difference between hut, hat, and hot. And I know for a lot of people in Poland, when they hear this, they think, what? That's the same thing. And it absolutely is not. So if you want to improve your English and you want to sound better and more natural and to where more people understand you, then you have to learn the proper pronunciation of vowels in English. I'll give you guys an example of when I was a child and when we moved to the United States. My parents loved Pizza Hut. They would always say, oh, let's go to Pizza Hut. But they would say Pizza Hut instead of Pizza Hut. And because of this, I think my dad thought that Pizza Hut was the same thing as Pizza Hot. So when I was a kid, he would always say something like, okay, kto chce iść do Pizza Hut? And I would be like, oh, ja chcę iść. And then he would say, o, albo może pojedziemy do Pizza Cold? And when I was younger, I always thought that that was a funny joke. But once I got older and I understood English better, then I realized that that joke doesn't make any sense. And I was actually surprised to find out that my dad did not know that that joke didn't make sense. So I remember explaining to him, I was like, tata, to nie ma sensu. And he's like, no czemu nie? No co? To jest śmieszne. And I was like, no, man, it's not funny. It's not even the same thing. It's Pizza Hut, not Pizza Hot. And then he's like, no co, to jest to samo, hot I hot, nie ma różnicy. And I was like, what are you talking about? There's a huge difference. So I definitely understand that it can be hard to hear this, but it's actually very important to understand this if you really want to improve your English.
So the sixth and final reason that you may sound Polish is that you're using Polish intonation patterns when speaking in English. So what do I mean by this? So by intonation, I literally mean, how do you use pitch or melody? So if you think of pitch as very much like an objective variable, how are you changing your pitch from low to high, from high to low? What's the range that you're working in? And where does your pitch just kind of sit at baseline? In general, North American English has more pitch variability, so there's a wider range, and it overall has a higher pitch than Polish. So this is really interesting to me. I speak to my baby in Polish. She's 17 months old, and I'm a little bit obsessive with trying to pass on perfect Polish to my baby because I want her to at least have a chance to speak decent Polish. However, sometimes I catch myself speaking to her with more American intonation overlaid onto my Polish. And I catch myself doing it and I'm able to kind of recalibrate and fix it right away. But if you were a Polish person hearing me speak to my baby in this way, I would either sound very North American, or I'd sound very kind of fake or phony, or perhaps I'd just sound a little bit crazy. So this is important to keep in mind, because if you do perceive Americans as being a little bit all over the place or very enthusiastic because of how they use their pitch, just know that it's not a personality difference. It's actually a required part of speaking English.
Is that why you guys like me? Because you think I sound enthusiastic when I speak Polish? Like, do I just sound like some crazy guy? Like, hey everybody, it's me, the crazy American. Like, is that how you perceive me when you watch my videos in Polish? Maybe that's why people think I'm entertaining in Polish.
If you decide that you don't want to use American English intonation and you're gonna consciously continue to use Polish intonation, you risk sounding flat or bored or generally kind of disinterested to a North American listener. So this part is really easy to overlook, but it's actually a really crucial part of communication.
That is very true. I want to give you guys a perfect example of this. I remember many years ago, I was in the car with my dad, my mom, and my sister, and my dad got a phone call. And he picked up the phone, and you know how like middle-aged men's phones are like extra loud for some reason, and you could hear the other person on the phone? Well, that's what it was like. And I could hear the person that was calling my dad, and I know that she worked with him. And she, as most Americans, was of course being enthusiastic and positive, and she was like, "Oh, hi, how are you? This is Susan from the office. How are you today?" And my dad was just like, "Hi." And that's it. First of all, that is not the right vowel sound, right? Because it's hi and not hi. Like, what is he, like a Japanese man? Like, hi. Like, why would he, like, and we laughed so hard. Me and my sister, we were just dying laughing because of how ridiculous it sounded. "Oh my God, how are you doing today, Tommy? This is Susan from the office. How are you today?" Hi. So instead of my dad, even though he lives in America, instead of adapting to the tone and the pitch and the enthusiasm in his voice, he continued to speak in a Polish manner, which again, just like Victoria said, it kind of makes you sound like a weirdo if you live in the US or you're like talking to people in the US.
All right, you guys, well, those are my 6 reasons why Polish people sound Polish. I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you had some fun with it. And Dave, thank you so much again for this amazing opportunity to do this collab with you. If you are an advanced English learner and you want to learn more about American pronunciation and intonation patterns, then I invite you to check out my channel. It's called American Accent Mastery, and I try to post on there once a week-ish, sometimes a bit less, but I try my best. All right, you guys, thank you so much again. Cześć.
You're very welcome, Victoria. It's a pleasure for me to have you on my channel, and I hope you guys enjoyed Victoria as well. So obviously, if you liked today's video, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Definitely subscribe to Victoria's channel, link down in the description. So please subscribe to her channel if you are interested in improving your English. So make sure to let us know what you thought about today's video in the comments. Also share this video with your family and friends. Thanks for watching my channel. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.